Okay, we're back with Chew Quieter, and our special guest today is my good buddy Amir Binhazim. Is that how you pronounce it?
No, but nice try. I like it.
All right. Well, how do you pronounce your last name, man? I'm
Binhazim.
sorry. Binhazim. Okay. Sorry.
No, you're good.
I've tried before, and I think I've butchered it in front of you before too. I think
It's fine, man. I mean, even Amir is not how my name is supposed to be pronounced, so I just let it slide.
it's not. Why didn't you ever tell me anything?
Because, I mean, you've got an American tongue. It'll be a little interesting to try.
That's true. So this is kind of crazy. This is the second episode in a row that we've had three brown faces on.
Whoa.
I know.
You're on a roll.
We're on a roll. And I think next episode is going to be a white man. So there goes everything. I
Diversity. I like it.
Whoever it is going to be the diversity hire. That's basically what it is. All right. So, so Amir is proficient in firearms, and this episode is going to be all about firearms. He has built a couple of ARs for me. He's helped me build some guns. I mean, what else can I say about you? Talk about your business a little bit.
Well, I am founder of Silverback Ordnance. Basically, training and guns, proficiency, safety, education, helping people figure out what firearms to carry for self-defense, as well as how to carry. Because if you're not comfortable carrying, you're not going to carry. And I specialize in bigger guys carrying because I'm a hefty fellow myself. So guys with a little bit more waist around their middle, that's who I've been helping out. Other than that, I kind of have worked some stuff for you and a few other people, and that's really about it. I do word of mouth. I don't do bulk. I don't do anything, and I like to work on it when you're there, so I show you everything.
Yeah, and you've showed me a lot. I mean, I thought I knew what I was doing before. When I moved to Tennessee, I didn't have a garage. I didn't have a workbench or anything. So when I found you, we became really good friends. And then you're like, hey, if you need anything built, let me know. And I was like, yes, I actually do. So you actually showed me a few things I didn't know. And I appreciate that.
No worries. I mean, that was the whole point, was educate you, right? So now you can go and do your own work and you can be your own gunsmith.
Yes. I have the tools now.
You're dangerous.
So let's dive right into it. I think let's get right into everyday carry.
Okay.
So like you mentioned, you help a lot of bigger fellows get comfortable with carrying.
Mm-hmm.
I know you carry appendix.
Mm-hmm.
I still can't, even though I've lost quite a bit of weight. I'm still kind of in that mindset. I still have a barrel with the loaded round in the chamber pointed at my dick and balls.
Okay, yeah, that's a very valid argument.
So how does that mindset get eliminated from someone's mind? And if it can't, do you just have someone stick with a 3 o'clock position?
If you're not comfortable carrying in one position, don't carry in that position. Number one thing is being comfortable, right? So if you're not comfortable, you're going to carry it less, and you're more likely going to find yourself in a situation when you need it and don't have it, than vice versa. So if you're uncomfortable with it pointing at your pelvis and at your gentleman sausage, then don't carry it that way. But keep in mind, you probably have it pointed more likely to your femoral artery when it's at 3 o'clock. You're more likely going to do more damage to your pelvis and hip and femur if it does go off. You're more likely going to not pay attention to the reholster and maybe catch the trigger with clothing or something if it's on your blind side. So for me, for example, I carry appendix right down here. But when I holster, I can look straight down, make sure everything is clear, shove it in. Is the gun going to go off? No. If you're carrying a 2011 or something with a hammer and in different conditions, maybe. But usually if the hammer is down, that gun's not going to fire unless you pull that trigger and put a huge pull on it. if it's a dual action, single action. If it's a single action gun, you're going to have to pull that hammer back for it to even pop and fire.
Right.
With Glock's three safeties, I wouldn't worry about it. If you're comfortable enough to drop your gun loaded and it not go off, you're more likely not going to shoot yourself. But you have to pay attention to your clothing, keep your finger off the trigger, and practice reholstering with an empty gun over and over and over and over and over. Now, for some guns like Glocks, they actually make a backplate that if the trigger is activated and pushed, the backplate will start to lift, right? So now if your
Mm-hmm.
thumb is on the backplate and it starts to lift, you'll be like, whoa, wait a second. Thumb's not right. I don't need to push this gun any deeper.
Mm-hmm.
Now, some guns like the Arex Delta actually have a little pin that comes past the backplate and you can feel it on your thumb. Because my practice when I reholster is thumb on the backplate, index finger on the slide, and the rest of my three fingers on the grip. Some guns, even like Canucks, also have that pin that pushes out the back just to let you know that there's something going on. And you can feel it when your thumb is pressed against it. But for worrying about it, as long as you have a safe gun, when I mean safe gun, you haven't modded it and gone bananas, then at that point in time, I would say, yeah, you're perfectly fine to holster up front. Um, I do it like this because of access and training. And when I'm in my car, it's easier for me to pull from here than it is for me to do this and unbuckle my seatbelt. Right?
So I've tried that. I've tried that before when I'm in the vehicle and just in the driveway. Like, how quick can I get to it? And if I can't get to it quick, I've always thought about putting it in different places. Like I have uh, a a holster just for the truck
Mm-hmm.
that has retention.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not totally 100% happy with it, just because if there is an accident, I mean, things happen and it can still come out of the holster. But it's still not a magnet where I'm just slapping against a magnet. You
Right.
know what I'm saying?
Right. So I use a Safariland QLS fork on one of my other holsters, my outer waistband holster, and I also use a Safariland QLS receiver, and that's bolted to my center console. And that holster stays in the gun because I had to buy a left-handed holster to be able to mount it onto the left side of the console.
Yeah. Yeah.
So now that goes in and it retentions and locks. Now, I don't advocate to use your vehicle as a holster. Your vehicle's not a holster. Don't leave your guns in your car. But when I get in the car, it goes in there.
Mhm.
In my other vehicle, unfortunately, it's really nice, and I really don't want to tear into it, so I have a magnet on that one, and it's just double-sided taped on there because the center console's all fancy leather, and I'm like, no, I'm not doing that.
Yeah,
Not
it's a
drilling.
Mercedes.
I'm
You don't,
not. I'm not
you don't
drilling
mess
holes
with
through that.
Mercedes.
And my wife would be upset if I put a hole through her center console.
Yeah. So going back to the holster really quick at 3 o'clock, I've actually am very, very conscious about how I reholster
Mm-hmm.
because I wear baggy shirts.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that that's just one of the things that you pointed out was the clothing does come into play.
Mm-hmm.
And I purposely look and feel I'm taking all these variables out of everything just because I don't want an ND, negligent discharge.
Correct.
So,
Or in this case, an accidental discharge, an AD. Yeah, right.
right. Sorry. Thank you for correcting me on that one.
No
Because someone's
worries.
out there and now
There's that
listening, like,
because there'll be somebody in the comments later be like, "That's not an
yeah,
ND, that's an AD."
yeah, exactly. And I know who it is already going to be listening. Like, hey, motherfucker, he's going to be texting me. You said it wrong, bitch.
Probably gonna be Will.
So yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because there's a lot of people that aren't comfortable at the appendix carry and do carry at 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock.
Right.
So at 4 o'clock, it's even worse because then you're looking way back if you can't look that far back.
And there's people who carry 6 o'clock on the back, Israeli style. But I mean, when I say Israeli style, nothing in the pipe. They don't carry with one loaded. They carry with one in the magazine. Effectively, their draw, the Israeli style or the IDF style, is to draw and chamber and then prepare. And they practice that. If you practice that, by all means, I'm not going to do it because that could be the difference of you popping me versus not. So I always carry with one in the chamber.
Mm-hmm.
I store
Yeah, I
my
do too.
gun at home in my safe with one in the chamber.
Well, you've seen my safe. All
Right,
my guns have one in the chamber, except for some of the ARs that I don't have as duty weapons. The ones that are just the fun ones,
right.
they don't have anything. But my duty weapons have one in the chamber always. So yeah. And thanks for helping me put my safe together.
That was not fun. That thing is heavy. I wasn't ready for that when it came off the pallet. I was not. I know safes are heavy, but mentally, I was just not in the right mental space that day.
Yeah, that's a heavy bitch. So how much experience do you have with women and concealed carry?
Quite a bit actually, because of my mother, my sister, and my wife. My mother carries, my sister carries, um, and the biggest issue for them was overcoming the comfort and how to carry. So belly bands work really great for women. And helping my mother find something to carry led me to the greatest carry invention ever. Uh, the Filster Enigma.
Really?
It it's the reason why I can carry a full size Glock in my pants in basketball shorts.
Can you describe this holster?
So it's not necessarily a holster. They do make one, but it's a system that they designed, and this system is a Tegris piece of material that they have cut shapes out of, and then have cut out two slits, and those slits mount to a appendix inner waistband holster where you would have your clip.
So it's a soft
Hmm,
holster.
it's more, but it's flexible carbon fiber is the easiest way I can tell you.
Okay.
So it sits there and it wraps around, and then it has a belt. So I run the sport belt. The sport belt has a hook on each side, and it wraps around you. And the sport belt is elastic, and it has a band in the back with little tiny elastic pockets where you can hide magazines, an IFAK, or even a tourniquet. It'll be bulky at that point in time, but it's nice. The advantage of it is that before you put on your pants, you put on this holster. Then you put your
Mhm.
pants on and button up, and then you put on whatever belt you want. Case in point, if you want to wear gym shorts or you want to wear a kilt, you can do all that with it, whatever you want to wear. It allows you to carry supported without having to worry about your belt and your pants. The advantage of it also is the fact that you don't have to worry about wearing really uncomfortable, thick, hard belts,
Mm.
right? So a lot of the carry belts out there, from Blue Alpha to the next belt to this and that, are very hard, stiff belts. They put a lot of pressure on your hips. Taking that off of you and just allowing an elastic, I guess you could say, strap to hold your holster against your body is so much easier, because now when you move, it moves with you.
Yeah.
So you can stand, you can sit. I put mine on at 6:30 in the morning, and it doesn't come off until I go to bed. It's how I feel empty without it. So the other day I had to go to the post office, and I literally had to undo it, take it out. Hindsight being 2020, I should have just taken the gun out and put it in my backpack for a quick second, run to the post office, come back out. But I literally undid the whole ensemble, went inside, and I was like, man, this is terrible. I feel naked. I don't have this, you know? But it's what helped me find that, and help my mom find that holster, and my sister. So now they can wear anything and
Mhm.
still carry, and carry conceal.
So my wife has. I bought her a sticky holster,
Mm-hmm.
and she just puts her concealed carry in her purse with the sticky holster. She's been looking for a purse that has its own compartment, but of course, you know how women are. It has to be pretty and cute and all this stuff. And then functionality is always, takes the back seat. So we're still looking, but that's right now her everyday carry is just basically that with the sticky holster.
Yeah, so the Enigma comes in many different options. There's the Enigma, then there's the Enigma XL, and then the Enigma Micro, or something along those lines. Don't somebody's going to correct me in the comments, but yeah, sure, by all means, go ahead. I don't have it off the top of my head, but the advantage of it is the fact that you have different options. You can carry almost anything, and almost all holster manufacturers now are giving you an option to be Enigma compatible.
That's good.
And if you ever want to carry your shadow systems appendix, I have a spare Enigma in a holster. You can try it. It is a game changer. Couple that with a yoga block wedge that I shaped myself to suit me, man. Um, I'm happy with it.
I've noticed a lot of holster companies are starting to have that option
Hmm.
to have that block with appendix carry holsters.
Yeah, the wedge it changes it. What it does is it takes your flat plane of your holster and it adds a bulky little wedge right down here or wherever you want it, and you can make it as big as you want. What it does for us bigger guys who have a belly is that it fills this gap down here between your fupa and your belly. And what it does is that it keeps the gun straight, because what happens without it is that when we wear it, our gun does this. It tilts
Yeah.
outwards. When it tilts outwards, we're printing. We're showing the whole world. We're like, hey, look at me. So by putting the wedge in here and it sits up against our pubic bone, since it's a yoga block, it doesn't hurt. It literally rotates the gun back into your belly, effectively also pushing your belly back in and kind of slimming you down a little bit. So it's a fashionista thing.
Take
Who
those
doesn't want to be a
wins.
slim? Yeah,
Take those
exactly.
wins.
I'll take those wins any day I can.
Um, how much training do you suggest to anyone before they start carrying daily?
I think a gun needs to go 500 to 1,000 rounds without a misfire or an issue before you carry it daily. I didn't carry this thing for almost 3 months because I was having issues for the first 2 or 3 months of having it. I had firing pin issues. I mean, the gun is got some stupid stuff done to it that is my own doing because R&D, right? So to make it reliable and to give me that trigger that I want, I had to go through some growing pains with it, and I had some issues. I had a lot of light primer strikes because I was trying to find that perfect trigger.
Mhm.
And I had a lot of jamming issues because I was trying to find that perfect recoil. Um, Finally got it tuned out and it started running good. Went 250 rounds, no problem. And then boom, stovepipe. I was like, oh my God, restart. So restarted again and kept going and kept going. And then I think in July, I was actually like, hey, we went to the range. We pounded out 1,000 rounds in 2 days. And this thing didn't jam once, didn't miss a beat. It's ready for carry now.
Mhm.
That's me. For the average Joe, if you're buying a brand new gun, go to the range, get some training first. Don't just go waste ammo. Don't go kill paper. Killing paper is stupid if you don't know what you're doing, right?
Mhm.
So go get some training. Go take a class. It's worth it. It'll save your life. You will learn a whole lot.
Oh, yeah.
Um, the more rounds you put on, like the more rounds you put through a gun, and you spend shooting it and learning recoil management and learning holster, reholster, administrative reloads, as well as empty chamber reloads. You'll pick up a skill set that is very valuable, and less than 1% of the world's population has it, unless they're civilians. Let me say that. Yeah.
I think that's my next step, and that's why I went and bought some more ammo. Actually, I have 500 rounds coming next week of 9mm.
Hmm.
I'm not even worried about subsonics because I just want to be able to have an expensive ammo that I can just train with. And we talked a little bit this week about me actually maybe buying a battle belt, doing some stuff in competition even, so I can get these skills developed a little bit more. So, do you think trying to run a comp is beneficial to training, or is it not even practical?
If you're a newbie and you want to compete, compete. I can't tell you no. I'm never gonna steal the thunder under your wings. Fly, baby. If you want to compete and that's what you want to do it, right? Um, if you're doing it to become a better gunfighter, and I use that in quotations, gunfighter, you'll learn a whole lot. But I've been in competitions where the guy has a ton of experience, special forces, this. probably kill everyone in the room faster than they could ever move, and he gets smoked in a competition because there's a point in time where the training overlaps, just like a Venn diagram, and then they don't. And I'm sure the vice versa for the competition shooter who goes and runs practical shooting courses and it's like, oh crap, dude, I didn't pie the room right. I got smoked, right? So these are all aspects to it. It's the same thing as driving a high horsepower car versus sitting on a racetrack next to a Miata that runs circles around you.
Hmm.
It, there's levels to it. So my suggestion, if you want to compete, compete. But are you going to compete to become a better gunfighter? Then no, go take some gunfighter classes. You know, go take some classes and learn how to practically use a barricade. There's a difference between conceal and cover. Cover is just hiding your shape and figure and visuals, and stopping whatever's coming through. While concealment is literally just hiding behind something. That's it.
Hmm.
So, I mean, these are the things you have to learn and how you move and how you act and how you manage recoil and how you use your sling and how you transition from your primary to your secondary and then reholster and then do an administrative reload. Those are all things that you will not learn in competition shooting, but you will be able to use some of them depending on whether you do 2 gun, 3 gun, and whatnot, but it's something that you need to go learn from an accredited instructor. And I say this, accredited instructor is highly important because if you go and take a class from Joe Schmo from the police department, you may develop and learn some bad habits. Research your instructors. Get online, look at their YouTube videos. If they're doing some hairy, weird stuff, don't. But there's many out there that are definitely awesome. You know, Bear Solutions is fantastic. He's right in Clarksville, Tennessee. Tactical Response is not far. This is the James Yeager organization and absolutely fantastic. S12 has training right outside of Nashville here. It's expensive. Man, what you will learn in that whole weekend, you will come back and with a whole nother aspect of situational awareness. So I highly recommend you take classes and you train if you want to. If you want to just conceal carry, then you can take some smaller level classes. They're offered at places like Outpost or Strategic Edge, where you can learn the basics of concealed carry and self defense.
Hmm. So at that point, um, fight or flight. At what point do you? Is it an instinct or is it just an awareness that you have to either fight or flight?
I mean, honestly, there's a famous cliche saying, "Train how you fight." I just had this discussion with my buddy Kevin Peller, and we were just talking about this. And train how you fight applies to muscle memory. So muscle memory is going to be the only thing that basically functions for you when adrenaline is pumping through your veins. Your motor functions and everything have slowed down, and now you're in the fog of war, and you have to survive. Muscle memory is what's going to save you. Muscle memory is going to help you find that safety, find that mag release, find that trigger, present properly because you've trained it so deeply that when you pull out your gun and you're presenting, that dot is already on the target. You're not sitting there moving around looking for it. That's the difference between finding the target and executing the target, or forgive me, finding the target too late and the last thing you see is a flash of chrome before you're at the pearly gates. But yeah, fight or flight is very important. You have to train the flight out of you, but you also have to know when you need to run. If I got my kids and my wife and something's going on at a gas station, bro, I'm not engaging that. Hell no. My job is to get the heck out of there. I'm out. You know, you also have to consider what happens if I have to fire at somebody in my car while my 2-year-old is in the back seat. He's going to go deaf. He's going to be
Right.
scared bananas. He's probably going to be scared of the car seat, the car, me, and anything else that makes a loud noise.
Yeah, it's a good point.
You have to think about that. Like, somebody is like, well, what happens when you're carrying a baby? Well, DJ Shipley had a really interesting thing. He says, if you're carrying a baby and you have to engage a target, press that baby's ear against your chest and then cover the other ear and then engage your target. This is where training comes in and you have to learn how to work with a weapon with one hand.
Mm.
So, I mean, these are all things that most people don't consider in that situation. Everybody talks about, oh man, if they ever come into my house, I'll shoot them. That's not really how it always goes, right?
Right. So you brought up an interesting aspect on fight or flight, and you spoke about a red dot. Is
Mm-hmm.
this something it's something that everyone is doing these days because it's for the most part, it's easier to get on target. Do you suggest a red dot right away for someone that doesn't have much experience with the firearm?
It's the whole manual transmission automatic thing. This is where I see it. Everything is going automatic, and those who can still drive a manual transmission are probably going to be few and far in between. It's also the greatest anti-theft ever now. So, in regards to iron sights, at some point in time, you need to pick up an iron gun and train with it because your life may depend on that down the road. Red dots are fantastic. It's awesome. It's one point of aim. While with an iron sight, it's 2 points of aim that you have to figure out in a line, side to side, up and down, to make sure that everything sits equally when you pull the trigger. And where do you put the front sight? You put it on someone's forehead, you put it cover their face, cover their torso. These are all things you're going to have to learn. If you want to be proficient in firearms, you need to be proficient in different styles of firearms. For me, unfortunately, I have concentrated on semi-automatic modern day pistols and the AR platform, and I think I would like to dig into the AK platform over time. I don't know. It's very Habibi for me, and I'm trying to stay away from Habibi things because I am a Habibi, and me and an AK just screams, "Look at that! Would you just look at it?" So,
So when I was at the range last, I took my Glock 17 that I haven't shot in a long time, and it lost 0.
mhm.
So I'm trying to ring steel, and I'm like, the dot is on it. At the time I didn't know it lost 0. So I'm putting the dot on the steel, and it's not ringing steel. I'm like, okay, what the fuck? I forgot my tool to adjust, and so I was like, okay, I'm using irons, and started going back to irons, and no problem at 20 yards, just ringing steel.
It's like riding a bicycle. Once you can learn how to use irons, you'll be fine.
Mm-hmm.
Irons are nice. I like to co-witness everything. I still run irons. I like to turn off my dot and run irons on a couple drills during the day. I will also tape off my optic on the front and just run the dot and work on seeing through the dot with both eyes. So my left eye actually sees the target, my right eye sees the dot, overlays the images together, and allows me to still shoot with that. I
Mm-hmm.
also like to practice shooting from the back plate, effectively using the back plate of the back of the Glock as my point of reference in the event that my optic is damaged or I pick up a gun that has no sights on it. It's just small little drills. The first 30 minutes at the range is rudimentary, small, fundamental drills, warming up, just practicing a few things here and there, and then I get into the serious meat and potato stuff with the running gun and working the VTAC barricades and things like that, and drawing from conceal and attacking a target that's very close,
Mm-hmm.
and how to work with that. And also, the closer you get, go to cardboard and shoot paper. Don't shoot steel that close. It's not fun.
Right. So Armando's family, they just took some classes. Armando, you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So my wife and both my daughters are just like mortified of any firearm in the house.
Hmm.
So, and they come in the house in my office, and there's can be any number of things floating around here, and they just like walk in, they go, oh, and then walk out the door. So, I was like, you guys have to do something. You guys have to be prepared. So as they sign up for the beginner course, and couple hours with an NRA trainer out at the range out here at Usury Mountain in Arizona, and these girls loved every minute of it, and they were like, okay, when we're going back, and the aspect you talked about of training and what that does, it changes their perspective, their idea at the very basic level of their fear turned to empowerment like that. I mean, it was instant. Like I watched them. I sat around. I was gonna go. I got a new Benelli shotgun, and I was gonna go shoot clays. And I was just like, no, I'm gonna sit and watch this. I'm gonna watch how this develops. And I just sat on the bench, like right around them, and I just watched
Right.
how the faces turned from what are we doing here, the fear, and they all. My wife was a little excited about it. She wanted to learn. She was kind of getting over the fear. She's like, okay, I'm ready to go. The girls were still like, eh. So I saw both the girls and her start off with this. And then about 15, 20 minutes later, as soon as they started getting into it, learning about what it is, they're holding the gun, doing different things with it, and looking through it and learning how to actually handle it. And their faces, there were smiles. They were like, okay, let's go to the next one. And then as soon as he put, like, you said paper, he just popped a little target in the middle of a white paper plate, stapled it up to the boards, and they shot at 12 feet. And every round that they went through and shot, they just got more and more excited, and until the last round when they just got tired.
Trigger
So,
fatigue, it
but
happens.
yeah, just it's all of it. So, but for a good first round and that training, um, it changed their whole perspective on what the gun is, what the rules, how to handle it, how to actually come into my office and see what's sitting on the counter, and okay, just ignore it, or if they feel threatened, they can unload it, they can put it aside and go do what they want to do. So definitely, any person that wants to start, go out there, and I suggest finding, they're everywhere, and using your local gun club or range, open range like we have here. You just meet the instructor there. They rent the lane. They bring all the supplies you needed. They took my shield, and then they rented two other Walther guns, and that Walther, what was it? It was the F. What was the
PDP.
F one? Yeah, it was F. So basically, it was kind of designed more for females
Hmm.
and more senior citizens. So it had a nice smoother trigger. So they enjoyed shooting that one a little more than the shield. Shield's just, it's tough. It's a little compact. There's not much room for hands. There's not much room for anything. So now they're all like, okay, we're buying Walthers now.
Hey, I
So
mean, more power to them. The greatest equalizer in self defense and making sure you can get home that night is training, situational awareness, and making sure that you stay armed to defend yourself. That's the most important things right there. Situational awareness, for one, will save your life. Don't walk to your car texting. Keep your head on a swivel, pay attention, and the training aspect of it. Knowing how to handle a firearm will really change the game for you.
yep.
It changed it for me. I was the first one in my family to own a gun in the U.S. after we became citizens. As soon as we became citizens, I was like, yo, gun store, I'm 21, let's go. Yep, that day, bought a Ruger, sold it 3 months later. Got a Smith & Wesson SD9, sold it about a month later, and immediately after that bought a Glock 19 and have never looked back. I've run with Glock. I've had every single 9mm Glock they have ever made, except for the wonderful Glock 18. But
Yeah. So Armando's kids are young adults.
hmm
You have a 2-year-old who is one of my favorite 2-year-olds that I've ever met in my life, by the way. I'm still thinking he calls me, or he thinks I'm his uncle, just because we almost look alike. But at what age for a child do you think it is right to start training them on firearms?
we started with Nerf guns at about 1.5.
Really?
Trigger discipline. We got a little Nerf gun that's tiny for him, and we worked on clearing the house. Made a game out of it, and he calls it his pew pew. And we worked on trigger discipline and not pointing it at people, not shooting anybody with Nerfs in the head unless we're playing the game. And even then, it's just training. It's a game. I started him off early because I have I had a lot of firearms in the house. I've downsized my collection to practicality now, and I have guns. And as he's gotten older, he runs and gives me a hug and he headbutts my gun because it's an appendix. So he's always asking me what that is. So I told him I'm educating him. I also have a 14-year-old. I'm educating her. I'm making sure that she knows that if she sees a gun on the table and she hears me flushing in the bathroom, don't touch it. It's not yours. But at the same time, I'm also making sure that I don't do that around my kids.
Hmm.
But 4 kids, you could open up my spoon drawer and found a Glock in a holster. You go in the bathroom and look for a towel and open a cabinet, there'd be a Glock in there too. I used to have guns all over the house. But now I have kids, I can't do that. So I keep it on me and I keep it in a safe, but educating your kids is the most important aspect of it. They need to understand it. And then the other thing you also have to understand is you can trust everyone you want, but you can't trust the devil inside of them. Don't give them an opportunity to do something stupid. My safe is always locked. Locked. Locked, locked, locked. They don't know the key code, and the only person who knows the key code is my wife, and I have the key. I have the physical key. The physical key is nowhere in the house. It's always with me. She has her physical key, and it's always with her in case the battery dies on the safe. But that's the thing. Don't give them an opportunity. And then third thing, don't trust their friends. My daughter has friends who
Hmm.
come over and they sleep over, and guess what? That shit's locked up tighter than Fort Knox. She ain't even allowed to go into our bedroom unless she asks or somebody lets her in.
Hmm.
It's just one of those things. I don't trust them. My my electronic bedside safe is disabled and turned off when I leave. When I'm home, it's engaged and turned on
Hmm.
because I have a bedside gun in there. It's just how the cookie crumbles.
Yeah.
You got to protect your kids from themselves. You got to protect your kids from their curiosity. You got to protect your kids from their friends because you don't know what kind of influence their friends have.
Right.
Yeah,
So,
curiosity of kids are just be a problem all the time for
Dude,
everything.
they're
It's
kids.
not just it's not just guns. It's everything. It's
Yeah,
alcohol. It's everything. And they're gonna find a way to a car. Hey, let's take your dad's car. I mean, it's all the stuff that we've done through our lives.
yeah. I mean, dude, I was a kid.
Gabriel.
I was a bad, bad kid. I got in trouble for a lot of stupid stuff. And I did some things that I shouldn't have done. And the way I look at it is that at the end of the day, curiosity did kill the cat, but you have to protect yourself and your children
Mhm.
from their
Yeah,
curious little cat minds.
exactly,
yeah.
exactly.
Because they're going to be like,
I,
oh, why does he do that? Oh, let me go get that.
Mhm.
He puts his key in here like this. Oh, turn it. Oh, look, it's Baba's pew pew. No, we're not doing that. Nope, 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 nope. I'm not going to be a statistic.
my dad shot me how to shoot a Ruger 10/22 when I was 7 years old. That was the first time I shot anything, and I fell in love with it. Then I was like, "Oh, wow!"
This is
And,
awesome.
and yeah, I was just like, "This thing is just flying down there," and I hit something, and I want to do it again. And then I got to the point where he was like, "All right, this is an extended magazine, and you can put more in there when you feel comfortable." And I was like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, let's do it." So next thing you know, I'm just mag dumping at 7 years old, and not really. I mean, at the time, my dad was just like, "All right, we're going to teach you a little bit, have a little bit of fun." But at the time, I really didn't know what I was doing,
Hmm.
honestly, and my dad didn't know what he was doing either. All he really wanted to teach me was trigger discipline, that it's a dangerous weapon. It can kill someone, it can hurt someone, it can maim someone. So when I did get older and he bought more guns, that's when there was a little bit more training involved. And there was more, okay, this is how you properly aim.
Hmm.
Um, this is, um, this is how you disassemble this weapon to clean it. This is how load the weapon, that sort of thing. So for me, it started at 7. I think for other people, it might vary just depending on how they feel with the maturity level of the child too.
So my son, he understands trigger discipline. So we were at a friend's farm one day, and people were shooting, and he had his ear pros on, and he looked at me and he said, "Can I shoot?" And I sat there and I was just like, "I don't have a 22 here." Only thing I got is a Glock. And he's like, I want to shoot it. So we sat on the ground together, and he held the Glock in his hand, and I helped him squeeze the trigger, and he let off a round, and you should have seen the smile on his face after that. That kid was smiling, and we emptied 2 magazines before I realized it, and I was like, oh man, that was carry ammo. I was like, all right, whatever. I made a memory. He had fun. He was smiling, and all the other kids were looking around like, that's cool. I want to do that. And I'm like, yeah, no. Get your mommy and daddy to do that for it. But dude, he had a blast with it. And from that point on, he always asked me, when can we go pew pew? And his mother's put a stop to that now. She's like, he's got to wait till he's a little older. And I was like, man, we're gonna be out in the deer stand by the time he's 5. Might as well let him get some practice. So,
this distinguish carry ammo and range ammo really quick.
Carry ammunition is stuff that's designed for self-defense, right? It's usually a form of a hollow point, while training ammunition is this all ammunition right here. So no hollow point. That's a 45. Yes, has my name on it, my date of birth. It's keepsake, but this is expensive stuff to carry, right? So usually when you go buy a box of 9mm ammo, it's like what, $12, $13. You get 50 rounds.
Yeah, 14 bucks for 50 rounds.
Yeah, you get 20 rounds of this stuff for like 24, 25 bucks, sometimes more. Spear Gold Dot's even more expensive. So it just depends.
I think I paid like 34 bucks for a 20 pack.
Yep.
So Underwood still has their sale right now on 147 grain plus P for 17 bucks.
Explain what plus P is, since you like to do that to me. And what 147 grain is.
So the grain is it's what is measured on the head, is the bullet, and it's a subsonic round for suppressors. I mean, something like this, you don't necessarily have to have a subsonic round, but it helps with the suppression. The plus P is now correct me if I'm wrong, it's that the powder that's loaded into it is when it's plus P, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
It's considered overpressure ammunition. It's commonly designated as a plus P, or if you got a big pair of cojones on you, plus P plus, which will destroy a Glock 43 or 48. But it's hotter, burns hotter and faster, which means the bullet now accelerates much faster out of your weapon, which means it carries more speed, which means it's louder, which means it's going to carry that weight at a higher velocity. So weight times speed equals impact force. So penetration and impact force is to, stop a target. The detriment to it is that it's going to recoil harder because it has got more oomph behind it. And in some guns, it can actually damage them. Some guns are not rated for it. The 43 and 48 have a thin barrel and have a thin slide, and I don't recommend that. I've seen one be damaged by plus P plus. It handled it all day long, but that last 10 minutes of it killed it. So I don't recommend plus P plus. And then the other thing you got to consider about it, you're responsible for every single bullet that leaves your gun.
Right.
So if you're going to carry plus P plus, just be mindful that when you do shoot at something, it's probably going to continue going after it goes through something. And I say that in general terms because I'm not talking about a car door or a house door or drywall, this and that. It's going to continue going. It's tough. And it may get you in more trouble down the road, and you may end up in the hot seat because, you hurt somebody because it went through a car door and hurt them when it wasn't intended to. Not saying that ball ammunition won't, but plus P has a greater possibility or probability of doing so.
Right. So not only a car door, but let's say, for example, you're at home and you have to defend yourself and your family,
Mm-hmm.
and you might miss the person that you're aiming at, and it goes through a wall or a door. Um, for home defense, what do you suggest?
Oh
Rifle, shotgun, handgun?
man, that is that's a can of worms. For me, I have a handgun on my bedside. Let me say what I have. I have a handgun with a suppressor on my bedside with a duty grade light, Surefire X300, with a red dot on it, with an extended mag, 30 round extended mag, because it's my home. I'm going to be in boxers and probably barefoot if something does go down, and I don't have time to put on a battle belt and reload.
Right.
I don't have time for that. And it's just so much easier to do it that way. And it just works for me because that's what I have. For what I have around me, I am choosing to carry 124 grain hollow points for my home defense, which is also what I carry every day for my everyday carry. And the two guns, what I have in my bedside versus what I have here, are basically identical minus the suppressor. So my manual of arms, and when I say manual of arms, I mean what I have trained with at the range is going to feel the same.
Mhm.
Because you've got these people that go to the range and shoot their Glock 19s, 19Xs, and 45s, and SIG P320s, and 17s, and whatnot, and they come and they carry this little dinky P365, and you're like, did you train with that? Well, no, I trained with. It's a totally different gun. It recoils differently. It's going to shoot differently. It's got a different trigger. You're probably not going to be as accurate with it because it's so much smaller and you haven't trained with it. So I have made sure that everything across the board is the same. What my wife has is what she trains with at the range.
So I think you and I have talked about this before, but I stopped carrying my 365X.
Yeah, I carry
Just
it.
because,
My wife carries an Arex Delta M.
yeah, I mean, as fine of a weapon as it is, my Shadow Systems MR920 is just superior. Look at you with the thumbs up.
I'm just happy that you've seen the light.
I mean, Shadow Systems, for those that don't know, it's you're getting basically a Glock 19 that has slide cuts. It's got an MR. It's MR red dot ready, and it's about the same price as an off the shelf Glock, maybe a few $100 more. But you're not spending the money to have it milled. You're getting an option for back straps that can fit your hand better. For example, I have the 1911 backstrap on it, and I love it.
Yeah, it changes the grip
Before,
angle of the gun from being less like this and more like that,
right?
which changes your overall hand grip to being straight
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to this.
Right. And it also has a different beaver tail, which will help prevent slide bite.
Oh yeah.
So, with all that said, to have that same type of pistol from a stock Glock, you're looking at spending an extra $700, $800.
Yep, that's what happened here. That's what happened here. So this started off as a 19X. Hold on, let me clear this. This started off as a 19X.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a Glock 19X, but now it has a Nomad grip, has an ape defense slide. The slide has been cut for a Steiner MPF optic. It's been ported. It has a light, and it's got a ridiculous trigger in it that's just like. So this is how you spend $1,600 on a Glock when you could have bought a Shadow Systems and done similar stuff for a little less. Aesthetically pleasing or aesthetically modified, this has more in it than the Shadow Systems.
So I was not fully aware of what the benefits of a weapon mounted light was until I moved to Tennessee, and I realized how dark it can be in the country or anywhere else in some parts of the city. That's when I started mounting lights to my guns. Living in Denver, there was lights everywhere. I didn't really have any places to go that was going to be completely dark. I had no problem carrying without a light.
Right.
But now that I live in the country, I have a fucking light on everything.
Well, it's not just necessarily that. Think about it when something goes bump in the night at home
Mm-hmm.
and you get up and you're like, what's that? You grab your gun. You have a flashlight. You know the layout of your home. So you have the advantage. You know your peep angles, right? So you have the advantage now. As you're walking through your home and you hear cluttering in your kitchen and you have a weapon mounted light, are you going to rush in and turn on all the lights?
No.
You're going to use your weapon mounted light.
Yep.
But one thing I'll say as your kids get older and they become teenagers, don't go downstairs when you hear a bump in the night with your gun in your hand. Keep it holstered. You know? If I heard a bump in the night one night, I go downstairs and I'm just like, Whiskey Tango Foxtrot. This kid's sitting in there just making ramen. I'm like, it's 1 o'clock in the morning, child. She's like, I was hungry.
I was hungry.
Yeah, I was hungry. It's like,
I was
man.
hungry.
You know, kids, man, they eat you at a home and house.
So that brings up another topic that I wanted to bring up is clearing a house. Is this something that you necessarily want to do without proper training?
Hell
any
no.
training?
You're going to die if you do. So CQB is it's known as close quarters battle or close quarters combat. Clearing a house is basically the same thing. If you come home and your door's busted open, call the popo. Don't sit there and go clear your house. Hell no. You don't know what you're walking into. You don't have the training. You don't know how to pie a room. You don't have a team stacking up behind you to be able to address multiple targets when you enter a room. You don't have any of that. But if you're already in your home and your home is secure, then yeah, go figure out what that bump in the night is. I'm going to pray and hope it's a skunk. I'd rather get skunked than get shot at or have to deal with that drama. And what other people don't think about is the mental state you're going to be in after you shoot somebody or after you take a life. That's not something any one of us can be prepared for. I'm not prepared for it. I don't know how to prepare for it. I've read everything I can about it, but I don't want that. Or what it's going to do to your kids, how they're going to feel safe again in your home if something happens, or if they see something happen, right? And that's just on the positive outcome of things. What if things go awry and you get hurt? Now your kids are seeing you hurt, and then somebody hurts them. So there's a lot to this. There's a lot to this. Come up with a plan with your significant others of what to do in a home invasion. Come up with a plan of what to do if something happens. You know, hey, okay, if this happens, you're calling the police, you're grabbing the kids, you're going to this room. People have to think about that. With crime rate going up and law-abiding citizens being put in danger all over the country, and you got to think about all of that.
So speaking of law-abiding citizens around the country being attacked, in Los Angeles last week, there was a guy coming home from the gym, and two guys jumped him as he was trying to walk inside of his door. I think a lot of people already saw this. He had a hot beverage in his hand. He threw the beverage at them to distract them. He drew his weapon and fired shots at them, and they scattered off. This individual now, who had a concealed carry weapon permit, has now had his permit revoked by the city or by the county of Los Angeles, which I think is complete bullshit.
I think so.
I don't know how. I don't know how he can now defend himself, knowing that these guys, he didn't hit them. So I don't know how he can now defend himself. Them knowing that where he lives, them maybe wanting retaliation, them being on the news, thinking, "Oh, now I feel like a fucking jerk. Now I'm gonna go get this guy back."
Yeah.
It just blows my fucking mind that this guy's rights are being taken away like that.
But it's not surprising. It's California.
Yeah, we shouldn't be surprised, but we are surprised. It's just,
I'm so ready for it to fall into the ocean.
None of the shit that happens out there surprises me when it comes to guns. It's just it's ridiculous.
It's progressive bureaucratic horror,
Yes.
as somebody put it so eloquently to me. So this is what happens when you let bureaucratic red tape, and this is what we have to do, dictate common sense and smartness. Happens in environmental protection agencies all the time. Let's put DEF in our vehicles to help protect against bad diesel exhaust, but we're going to transport it in plastic jugs and cardboard.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah, I know.
my
I've got
favorite.
pallets of it out here
It's my,
for work.
it's
Make
my
it make
favorite
sense.
thing. It's my favorite
Or
thing.
as the city of Murfreesboro told me, I'm sorry, we didn't take your trash because you had pizza boxes in your trash. They need to be bagged. Are you serious?
Jesus.
So
It's cardboard. So
exactly, it's the
do,
same
do,
thing.
do you know what happens when you recycle cardboard? They put it into a bunch of a serum that breaks everything down. Do you think it's not going to eat the grease,
It's
or the little bit of pepperoni that might be left on there? Really, it's so dumb.
yeah, no, it's the fact that it needs to be in a bag. They won't take the trash unless it's in a bag. Everything has to be bagged. All boxes have to be in a bag. I was like,
Oh, really?
let's give it 200 million years to decompose, right? Because it needs to go in a plastic bag that's going to take longer to decompose. So
Yeah.
yeah, but I mean that's exactly what's happening over there. They took this man's ability to defend himself. These people are now on the news knowing that he's unarmed. So yeah, there's very much a possibility for that. And the fact of the matter is that they're going to make him. They're going to make an example of him
Well,
because they're anti-gun.
yeah, and he's going to become the target.
Yep, yep. I was in, I'd lawyer up quick, fast, and in a hurry.
Very unfortunate.
I'd already be moved.
Yeah, really. And if you look at the video, it looks like he lives in an affluent area.
Yeah,
I
with
mean,
gates.
it was gated and everything.
They jumped the fence. I watched it.
Yeah.
I was like, hey, more power to him, man. He was John Slick on that one. He wasn't John Wick. He was John Slick. He was quick with that T, and then he drew, and he was on the dude.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's what, and this is what we talk about, the fight or flight, right? So adrenaline kicked in, his muscle memory and his training kicked in, but you know what? He didn't hit shit.
If you watch the video closely, he had a regrip after I think his third shot.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you saw that or not.
Yeah, his hand got laxed because he didn't have enough time training. A lot of people go in, they shoot 1 or 2 rounds, and then they're like, all right, do this, try that, do this. No, this is why I like bill drills and Mozambiques, because it's multiple shots. And dude, in the beginning when I started training, my hand would slip off the gun because my grip would get relaxed, and the gun now would go from recoiling to rocking inside my hands, and I'd have to readjust my grip. So that's changed a lot of things. And for him, the same thing happened. It's also because he didn't have a proper presentation grip from concealed carry. He drew, and so when he drew, his hand was probably relaxed or further back this way, not all the way up, not a high grip on the tang back here. His fingers weren't in the right place, or his support hand was not in the right place. So that's easy to slip off, and if you slip off, this gun now is going to just rock back and forth in your grip as opposed to being linear straight down your arm. So there's many possibilities, but again, adrenaline was the driving force. Fear for his life, fear for his wife, fear for his kid's life, and he had to readjust. But again, he missed everything. He's responsible for every single bullet that left there. Mm-hmm. So that's what you have to be mindful of. I'm not telling you don't defend yourself. Just be ready for all of this.
Yeah, luckily he had concrete walls and a steel gate, because you can see those shots hitting walls of the gate. I mean, he was shooting flat. He just wasn't hitting shit.
Or he was shooting a very tiny gun with big grip, and it was probably moving all over the place. There's very much possible. Not saying you can't shoot a 43X or a 48 or 365 or a Hellcat. Well, it's just a smaller gun.
So there's video of him at the range. I'll play this really quick. Give me 2 seconds and I'll share this. and you tell me what you think.
Oh, now they're showing his
Probably
face.
criminals came to my home, pointing guns at my chest. After successfully defending my home and my family, and my 5-month-old child, California is now deciding to suspend my Second Amendment. It was a quiet evening, and as I was coming home from the gym, two armed men, masked, hopped over the wall, ran down on me with guns. And the most terrifying part was my wife and my 5-month-old baby were on the other side of that door. In an effort to protect my family, I drew my gun and returned gunfire. As a result of that night, the California government has temporarily suspended my ability to concealed carry. This is an attempt to make me vulnerable at a time that is critical that I maintain my ability to protect my family. They'd rather leave me out there to dry and let my family become a statistic. My situation is unique because it happened at my front door, all on camera. But this happens time and time again all over the country. And others get caught on camera. And people sweep it under the rug because it doesn't behoove their political agenda.
So, as you can see, I mean, it's hard for me to criticize the guy because obviously I'm not there. It's never happened to me. And like you said, adrenaline takes over, things happen. But I feel for the guy.
Oh, I do, wholeheartedly. You do something to protect your family because somebody intends to cause harm to you and your family, or unpossess you of things. That's my new favorite word, unpossessing. That's what they're doing. They're taking things away from you. But I mean, you don't know that they're unpossessing. They could have been there for some heinous acts. So,
right.
For the government of California and Gavin Newsom to push that kind of it's politically driven, man. It's an agenda. They're trying to push a point over here, but that man needs to get really good with knives.
And I just saw Gavin Newsom signed a new, they call it a sin act, where they increased, I think, they imposed an extra 11% on firearms.
Mm-hmm. Firearms are already expensive in California
extra.
Because they have to be on the stupid registration. So they're making it where they're pricing people out of the industry is what they want to do. It's fine. It's fine. It's California. Everybody can move to Nevada. Don't come to Tennessee. Move to Nevada.
No, move to Washington or Oregon.
Yeah, there you
go. Don't be coming east. Go north.
Yeah. Canada. Go to Canada.
Go to Canada.
Yeah, Canada. Tell Trudeau I say hey.
Stay out of Arizona too.
Yeah, don't California my Tennessee.
One more question for you, and this is regarding AR using ARs for home defense.
Yeah.
Good idea, bad idea?
For me, I use a pistol. The AR is fantastic. There's many calibers that you can use in it. I'm not gonna say go ahead. If it's the only gun you have, by all means, defend yourself. Just be mindful where you're putting that round. That 223 round likes to travel.
Mm-hmm.
Garand Thumb has a video on YouTube where he shoots everything from 17 HMR all the way up to, I think, 50 Beowulf, or maybe he even went to 50 BMG. And he shoots it through drywall, multiple walls. And everything went through multiple walls.
I saw the video. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
It was eye-opening.
Absolutely. So at the end of the day, I decided I'm just going to stick with 9mm. Now, you can buy frangible rounds. Don't shoot them through your suppressor, because if you do, I take no responsibility for you blowing up your can. But you can buy frangible rounds with just packed lead powder. When it hits an object, it literally falls apart. But I don't know how well that's going to be in a home defense situation. You can go the shotgun and beanbag route, but man, if adrenaline is pumping and somebody wants to cause you harm, that ain't going to stop them. Mm-hmm. The thing is to stop the threat. The thing is to get training so your shots are actually accurate. You know, you don't want to go and do this and miss everything. Like you silhouette the guy and go all the way around him.
Yeah.
And then it goes click on you and he says, ha ha, and he attacks you with a hatchet. You don't want to be that guy. Nor do you want to be that guy that sent bullets everywhere and now your neighbors are outside screaming and wailing because somebody got hurt or you hit a child or you hit a dog.
Mm-hmm.
Or you shot your neighbor's windows out of their nice new Corvette. Don't be that guy.
So the way I have it set up in my house is, and this is the talk I've had with my wife. If anything goes bump in the night, and since we live alone, I know it's going to be someone, not us. I always know when she's getting out of bed because I'm a light sleeper. So first thing I'm doing is I'm grabbing my handgun that's on my nightstand. She's going to the closet and she's getting my AR that's chambered in 300 blackout that has a suppressor. She's staying in that room with the door locked. And the only way that she's coming out is if I tell her to come out, or if I'm at, if I tell her to, call, police or whatever it might be. That's the plan for us.
Yes.
She grabs the AR. I take the pistol. I go find out what's going on.
So that's a very good plan. Just come up with a safe word for her to know, or phrase, for her to know that it's you and it's okay. That would be my suggestion, in case somebody's got a gun to your head.
Mm-hmm.
Because in a situation where things get reversed and you end up with a hostage situation where you are the hostage because the guy got the drop on you or something, she needs to know that that's a different situation. Come up with a safe word for that.
That's a good point.
Two, come up with a plan where after you need to put levels to the thoughts and possibility. When I say levels, you need to grade the potential situation. So, if you got a stage 5 clinger, if it's a class 1 invasion, it's class 2, class 3, whatever. Class 3, if you yell class 3, then she needs to know she needs to call the police right now. You need to be able to communicate this as you're going down. So if you jump into a situation and come up with the safe word so she knows, like, oh, pineapples. Oh, shit. That means I need to call the cops. For real. Mm-hmm. It's important. Or, you go down there and you're just like, God dang it, it's cotton candy. Don't worry about calling the cops. I got him. He's dead. Or, no, go ahead and call the cops, but it's not that urgent. Or, whatever you do, come up with a plan for it, because the most important aspect in this situation, since it's just two of y'all, is communicate. It's also very important for me with my family and my kids, but the most important aspect for my family and my kids is for my wife to get to a safe space. And if I wake her up and I say, get the kids, she knows she has to call the cops no matter what. We're calling the cops. Right? I mean, and the way my house is set up, if somebody kicks in my front door, I literally probably have 10 seconds from them to get to the bedroom and get upstairs, because my first staircase is at the front door. So if I hear boom, bump in the night, literally have to roll over and I have to grab that gun out of the safe and I have to be ready. And I'm probably going to meet the threat at the top of the stairs. That's the reality of it, which means I have to make sure that whatever's going on, I'm probably tackling somebody at the top of them stairs and we're going down. Make sure that fight ends up downstairs and away from my kids. Probably going to hurt me and maybe possibly kill me, but I got to do whatever I can. I mean, unless I'm going to Home Alone booby trap my house, which I have thought about that.
Armando, you have any questions for him?
I had one, but I think we covered it.
What was it?
About the belt, the Enigma belt.
The Enigma.
I've been seeing these commercials about it. This guy in his gym shorts, and you just answered everything I needed to know about that.
Yeah, so I carry an Enigma. Here's the Enigma. Mounts to the front of your holster. It has a belt with a magnetic quick loop. And then on my holster, I have a wedge. And this wedge helps shape it to fit in that perfect spot. So when my belly sits on it a little bit, it's got room. And then the wedge is also a little longer than the holster, so I don't pinch my PP with my holster. So if anything happens, it pushes that. So when the gun goes in, oh, and I'm carrying it, fully protected in there, there's the light and everything. And at the same time, it tucks in nice and neatly in this little clean package right onto me. And so I wear this with every day, everywhere I go. Even places I'm not supposed to carry sometimes, unfortunately, because just don't trust the world we live in. So I highly recommend that. Now that's a Tenacor Malice holster that's been modified to fit the Enigma system. Filster, the company that makes the Enigma, makes their own holster. Forgot what they're called. Um, I don't remember the name of what they're called, but they make a holster to fit multiple guns based on the light. So it'll fit a TLR1 or Surefire X300.
Right on. Well, I think we're going to wrap it up from here. Amir, I really appreciate your time, the knowledge, all the scenarios that you brought up, and telling everyone to get some training, stock up on ammo, get some training.
Stock up on ammo and get some training, man. Get behind that trigger, man, and get comfortable with that gun.
Yep.
I will say this. Whatever you decide to buy, don't listen to me. Don't go buy a Glock. Don't listen to me. Don't buy a Glock. Buy what you're comfortable shooting. Your best bet, I could tell you this, is go and rent a couple different guns at a range that has different guns and shoot what you're comfortable with. Then after you get comfortable with that gun, you can explore other avenues and other guns and feel for it. Because I didn't start off with a Glock. I started off with a Ruger. I went to a Smith & Wesson, and then I went to a Glock. I haven't looked back. But in the process of that time, I've had SIGs. I've had CZs, which I absolutely love CZs. My favorite right now is the Arex Delta. Oh my God, it's an amazing pistol. It's my wife's gun now. It's our gun. I put 5,000 rounds through hers now, and it just keeps going and going and going and going. And it's probably one of the best bangs for the buck for a pistol because it's sub $400, optics ready to go. 15 rounds plus one on the Delta M, and it fits in the same spaces that a Glock 48 does. So I would totally be all about that.
I've actually shot yours once,
Mhm.
and I loved it. I really liked it.
It's my summer
very
carry.
similar to a Glock. It's very similar to a Glock. So I think if anyone has ever shot a Glock, they will find a lot of familiarity to it.
Right.
So and for the price, you can't go wrong.
No, there's a reason I have a few of those in the safe. They just work. They're fantastic.
Yeah.
You should add one to your safe, and so should you.
Well, I got that canning.
The Black Friday sale is coming up, so you could probably snag it for under $3. That's what I did last time.
Holy shit! I didn't know they were gonna have a Black Friday sale.
Yeah, I picked one up for $279 plus they did free shipping, and then I did the FFL transfer, and I got a Delta M optics ready for $279. I only bought it because I wanted to have spares for another gun, just in case. Because
and they use Glock mags, right?
No, they don't. They use their own proprietary mags.
Oh, okay.
But their mags are cheap. They're $15 to $20.
Oh, that's stupid cheap.
Yeah, and when they go on sale where it's buy three get one free, it's $21.99. Buy three get one free. So I bought 6 and ended up with 8. It was definitely worth it for right at about $120. You can't do that with factory Glock mags. So,
or even the Canics. I mean, the Canics are cheap, but their magazines are stupid expensive.
oh yeah, magazines on some guns just blow me away. This is why I don't own anything HK, man. I love HK, but I want an MP5, but no way, man. Am I spending $60 to $90 for a magazine? You got me straight up bent.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But I'll go burn $500 worth of ammo in a weekend. These two things don't match up.
Priorities.
Yeah,
we got to get to the range together this week.
I know. I missed out on that last outing, man. I lost my babysitter, and everybody else was sick, and there was no way I was getting away from that. So one of these days, we definitely will. We got to get out there and bring some steel on the range, and then get out to the longer range and stretch your legs out and see if we can get you popping steel at 500 yards with a red dot.
Yeah. One more question before I go.
Yeah.
For AR platform, talk really quick the difference between LPVO, red dot, and red dot with the magnifier.
So LPVO, low power variable optic, meaning it has a magnification, but it's usually 1:4, 1:6, 1:8, 1:10, and lately, well, no, that'd be MPVO, medium power variable optic, with the new Adaball 1:12. What that means is that it magnifies the image from 1 times, meaning no magnification, to 6 times, 8 times, 9 times, 10 times the magnification, effectively taking something that's so far away and bringing it closer to you. That's a low power variable optic. There's different aspects to that now. First focal plane and second focal plane. Biggest issue is for people is the second focal plane is only really going to be accurate at max magnification or at 1. The first focal plane, meaning that there's so much more that goes into this, but I'm just going to dumb it down real quick. But the first focal plane is you'll be able, whatever magnification you're at, you're actually at that true magnification and hold over for the reticle, the center of the dot, right? A red dot. A red dot is like what I have on my pistol right here. It's literally a block that has a light emitting diode that projects onto a screen through prisms and whatever else and lights up a dot. And that dot has no magnification, no nothing. If you have a quality dot, you'll have no magnification. There'll be no fisheye on the edges. And basically, you can put that dot on whatever you want it to be on, pull the trigger, and that's what it'll hit. There's some nuances with that when it comes to parallax and this and that, but I'm not going to get into that. The other option is the EOTech, which is a holographic weapon system. It projects hologram, basically, onto the glass. But EOTechs will function with no glass or broken glass. You can still see the reticle. It's just a hologram that's being displayed there. And then there's the red dot or the EOTech, and then a magnifier behind it, which is just basically simple 1 power telescope is the easiest way to put it. So it's either at 3x or 4x. I've seen that. I've seen some 6x's, 4.5s. All it is just something that sits on a mount that you can swivel out of the way or into it, and it basically magnifies whatever the red dot has. Effectively, just like it's just a giant piece of glass that magnifies things. That's all it basically does, and you just move it in and move it out. Accuracy wise, the red dot is probably going to be very accurate if it's a quality red dot that will hold 0. When I say hold 0, that means that under usage and under recoil fire, the impacts and the shocks and jostling it around and running and everything, that dot will stay where it's supposed to stay. It won't move down, it won't move left, right, or diagonal. It'll stay there. That means the mechanics inside there are so well built that they do not move under recoil or under normal usage. What that gives you now is it gives you, like what happened with your Glock, a repeatable function now. So you can shoot that target over and over and hit it consistently. And at the same place, you'll have your grouping. With a magnifier, you can bring that in and now see it closer, but you're not effectively changing anything on the red dot. So if your grouping is good and your red dot is accurate, your magnifier will help bring that accuracy closer to you visually. Mm-hmm. That's the best way to put it. I know somebody's going to get in the comments and totally correct me and try to annihilate me, but whatever. I don't care. Eat a dick. On an LPVO, you're dealing with mechanicals moving inside. So as this scope rotates and the magnifiers or the glasses move to bring an image closer or further, you could potentially be out of whack just a little bit on your glass or on your glasses and so forth, the tilt and move and whatnot. And now you pull the trigger and you're 4 inches low. Now you get in higher quality LPVOs, you're not going to have that. I mean, you get in your EOTechs. I think the lowest quality anybody can go to is a Swamp Fox Arrowhead. I think that is one of the best entry level low power variable optics you can get. It's a second focal plane, 1:6, 1:8, 1:10, depending on how you want to buy it. And I think one of the best red dots on the market. I mean, one of the best LPVOs on the market that is hands down the best is the March F Shorty 1:10, but it's about $3,600. Um, the Vortex Razor 1:10, the EOTech Voodoo 1:10, the Night Force Attacker 1:8. Those are fantastic ones. But there's so much else in between that you could fulfill. At the end of the day, I'll tell you this. Like I said, don't buy a Glock. Go buy what makes you comfortable. At the end of the day, fuck your opinion. Buy an Aimpoint RDS or an Aimpoint T2 or an EOTech and put a magnifier behind it. I have been through, Gabe knows, I've been through every single optic on the planet. I have tested and tried everything. And that's where I stand.
So I went, as you know, I went with the Vortex Huey,
Mhm.
the holographic, and I actually went and bought the Romeo, actually the Juliet
Mhm.
×3 magnifier. So I'm gonna have that. I have it behind it, and I've been thinking about an LPVO, but I have so much invested in that Huey. I just can't see myself swapping that out because that was a $600 optic.
What gun is it on?
It's on my 5.56 14.7 barrel.
You could put an LPVO on it, but if you're going to do an LPVO, you're going to want to go first focal plane. You're going to spend $1,000, $1,200 for that. Then you're going to need to buy a mount, and you need to decide if you want a 154, 17, or 194 mount. If you like the higher cheek weld versus the lower cheek weld, so that's another. If you do quality, that's another 150, 160 for an ADM mount to $300 for high quality Badger C1 mount and other things. So, dude, it's a lot of money. I mean, people think guns are cheap. They're not. But here's the thing: do you need duty grade on everything? No, that's my option on it. Sorry, mid tier snobs, high tier snobs, you're probably going to get all up in my guts. But go ahead. I don't care. You don't need duty grade on everything. If it's a range gun, go have fun with it, man. Go have fun with it. Not everybody drives around in an armored vehicle. Some of us drive around in fiberglass Corvettes because it's fun. We're probably going to get folded up into a pizza if something happens, but still, go have fun with it. If this is your duty gun that you wanted to survive World War III and, the zombie apocalypse, put a quality optic on it. And I'll tell you this, if you buy an EOTech, there's a whole lot of bullshit out there in regards to battery life here and there. I just changed the battery out on my EOTech just because it started doing the blinky thing after a year. And granted, when I store my gun, it's off. Mm-hmm. But I'll tell you a secret. You hit the down button on the EOTech when you start to use it. When it's off completely, it'll run for 4 hours. You hit the up button when you turn on the EOTech, it'll run for 8 hours. My safe guns don't need to have their red dots on 24/7, dude. I'm not going to them as my go-to weapons.
Right.
Like I said, my go-to weapons are always going to be my pistol, and my bedside gun is going to be my pistol. If it gets to a point where I have to actually run my 300 blackout or my 5.56, holy shit, we got some other problems.
Right.
That's how I see it. That's just me. Yeah. Everybody's not going to be me. Nobody's going to agree with me. Not everyone will. So take that with a grain of salt. If you disagree with me, like I said, go sit on your finger and rotate.
Well, listen, I appreciate your time again. This has been a great talk. I hope this has educated our listeners. And if anyone's ever been wondering about an LPVO versus a red dot, or how to, should they clear their home if they get home and they find the door kicked open, I hope this was informative for them. So
yeah, go listen to Lucas Botkin. He knows more than me.
So thanks again. And
you're welcome.
Everyone, we'll see you next time.
Hey, it was good to finally chat with you guys on here. Now we're like the three amigos, except it's like two amigos and a Habibi. So I'm totally down with that. And next time you want to have me on here, can we do Jeeps versus Yodas?
Oh God. Well, we didn't even get to the RC. We didn't even get to the RC discussion.
No, we didn't, man. I had a few of them brought out here, but we'll do that on another day, man. I got my little Got my little fun little rock crawler over here since you like to talk shit about RC, but that's okay. I listened to your podcast. I heard you talk shit. It's okay.
All right, everyone. We'll talk to you next time.
Have a good
Thanks,
one.
Noah.
See you guys.